On January 7th, the Boston Celtics were 18-21 and the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference. On May 29th, the Boston Celtics are going to their first NBA Finals since 2010. They swept the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, the team that people thought, despite being the 7th seed, still had a legitimate chance to win the championship. The Celtics demolished them and swept them. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 7, the team that I literally had a video almost planned that I was going to make if they won that series about why they might be the next super team in the NBA. They looked that good, and the Celtics were able to eliminate them. And then the number 1 seeded Miami Heat, who were looking very good throughout the playoffs, Jimmy Butler playing amazing. The Celtics go in and beat them again in a clutch Game 7, and they're going to the NBA Finals after looking like a complete disaster in the calendar year of 2021. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but there's something about the Celtics team for me that just makes them a little bit more likable than usual. I really don't know what it is, but I find myself kind of being happy for them making it back to the finals, despite me being a Raptors fan, not really liking the Celtics, but I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see them back in the finals, and it's interesting to see a team that was the 10 seed almost halfway into the regular season come out and have this amazing comeback, get all the way up to the 2 seed and make the finals. So I'm going to be analyzing today what happened for the Celtics, what flipped the switch. I made a video similar to this about 2 months ago, but now I'm going to analyze a couple different things as well and how the Celtics were really able to flip it around and ultimately make the NBA Finals this year. So let's get into the analysis. I think the place we have to start is, of course, Jason Tatum, a guy who at the start of this year looked like he was having a down year. Many fans were disappointed with the way he was playing. He was underperforming, not taking bad shots every game, and just not being the superstar player that people expected him to be coming into this year. And all of a sudden, he just completely explodes, plays like one of the best players in the NBA, has really, in my opinion, solidified himself as a top 10 player in the league right now, makes the All-NBA first team, and literally gives himself the case to be in the MVP conversation. Jason Tatum has been incredible for the second half of the regular season, and especially in the playoffs. His scoring was taken to a whole other level that it's never been in his career. He's always been a really good isolation shooter. He's been good at getting to the rim in transition, creating his own jump shots off the dribble, a good 3-point shooter. But in the second half of the regular season and in the playoffs, he was just a different type of scorer, amazing in isolation. He moves off the ball more, great in transition, an amazing 3-point shooter. He's amazing at those step backs, fadeaways in the post, and honestly sometimes looks like Kobe Bryant out there, and he definitely looks like he modeled his game after Kobe, because the way that he scores the ball definitely looks a lot like Kobe's game. And then something else I was really impressed with Tatum, especially in the playoffs, is how the playmaking aspect of his game has come to an all-time high for his career as well. Tatum in the playoffs this year averaged about 6 assists per game, and just his ability to be a more team player and have a much better IQ, move the ball, and make critical passes at critical times, at the right place at the right time. He's got a lot better at that, and that's an aspect that we really haven't seen in Tatum's game a lot throughout his career, but I think this year that was taken to a whole other level, and he really took on the role of being kind of the best and primary playmaker for this team and really run their offense in the best way that he has in his career. And then when we talk about Tatum on the defensive side of the floor, he was incredible this season, especially in the NBA playoffs. This guy had a defended field goal percentage of under 43% in the regular season and 41.5% in the NBA playoffs. That's what he holds his opponents to, their field goal percentage, his opponent's field goal percentage when guarded by him. This guy literally guarded Kevin Durant the most in that series against the Brooklyn Nets and held KD, not single-handedly, but he was the primary defender on him. He was guarding him most of the time, and he limited KD to one of the worst playoff performances that we have ever seen from the 7-foot, arguably greatest scorer of all time. That was one that really stood out to me, and then really just throughout the playoffs being a great team defender, great individual defender when he needs to, versatile, can guard 1 through 4 very well, and his defense was also at the highest of his career. So pretty much all the main 3 aspects of the game of basketball, Jason Tatum in the second half of the regular season and in the playoffs was playing at the best level that he had ever played in his career. We look at some stats for the regular season. Tatum put up 27 points per game on over 45% from the field and over 35% from three, and just under 58% true shooting. And keep in mind that pretty much all of these numbers are brought down by his very slow start to the season. He also put up about 4.5 assists per game, and like I mentioned, had a 43% defended field goal percentage. In the playoffs, Tatum got even better, again averaging 27 points per game, almost a 45% field goal percentage, 37.5% from three in the playoffs, a true shooting of about 59%, 6 assists per game, and a defended field goal percentage of about 41.5%. He truly played like an MVP caliber player and has definitely given himself a strong case to be considered maybe even a top 7 to 8 player in the game at this point. It's been proven in today's NBA that you really do need a superstar caliber player to win an NBA championship, and Tatum's become that player for the Celtics, and while their success really starts with him, another thing that you absolutely need to win a championship in today's NBA, and really over the last 2 decades in the NBA, is a top 10 defense. And the Celtics, from, again, I'll go back to pretty much the second half of the regular season on, have had by far the best defense in the NBA. They ended with the number 1 defensive rating in the regular season, which again, for the team, a relatively slow start to start the season pretty much in the first half. They still ended up with the number 1 defensive rating, with a defensive rating of about 102, which is unheard of in today's NBA. And then in the playoffs, they had the second best defensive rating, only behind the Milwaukee Bucks, who it really doesn't matter about them because they ended up eliminating them into Game 7 anyway. So what's really the key with the Celtics defense is how switchable they are, how they have great interior rim protection by both Robert Williams, who I think honestly might have a case to be the best defender in the world right now. I know that sounds like an insane take, but it's literally almost impossible to score against Robert Williams in the paint. He's an incredible rim protector, and also Al Horford is a very good interior defender, and he's pretty versatile as well. So their interior defense is great, and then their ability to just communicate with each other and work really well as a team and switch at the right time is very good as well. And especially today's NBA with lots of movement around the perimeter and cutting and three-point shooting, 2 things that you really need essential for your defense is your defense has to be switchable and adaptable at times, and the Celtics have the number 1 most switchable defense in the NBA this season in both the regular season and playoffs. They switch the most in the NBA. They're very good at switching off of screens, and another essential skill is contesting shots, leaping out to effectively contest three-pointers. Pretty much everyone on the Celtics is very good at doing this effectively. I know it doesn't seem like a very essential skill, but it is, especially in today's three-point shooting NBA, and I know it seems like it's not very hard to do, but actually having good technique with contesting a shot and not fouling and actually getting a hand and affecting the shot of the other team is actually not that easy to do the proper way, and everyone on the Celtics does a great job of that. Overall, they're switchable, they have great rim protection, and every individual defender on the Celtics bought into their role and played incredible defense this year. I look at a guy like Marcus Smart, who did deserve to win Defensive Player of the Year, an amazing pesky perimeter defender who guards the other team's best player night in and night out. Robert Williams, who I already talked about, who's an incredible interior defender and rim protector. Al Horford, who's another good rim protector, was able to fill in a little bit as that main kind of rim protector with Robert Williams out for a lot of this playoff run, and also does a good job of guarding players that are maybe about half a foot shorter than him. He's a great versatile defender. He can guard the perimeter, and he was actually guarding Jimmy Butler for a lot of the series against the Heat. Then guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are versatile, can guard 1 through 4, move laterally very well, can guard one-on-one against some of the league's best. And then some guys off of the bench, like Derek White, who's another great perimeter defender. Overall, pretty much every player that gets rotational minutes on the Celtics is a very good defender and provides exactly what the team wants defensively. Every single player that I just talked about got a vote for an all-defensive team. That's absolutely insane. 6 players, the 6 best players on the Celtics, all got votes for the defensive teams. Of course, Marcus Smart made the first team and won DPOY. Robert Williams made the second team, and then all of Tatum, Brown, Horford, and Derek White all got votes for the second team, and at least 2 votes for the second team, and actually both Horford and Tatum actually got 1 vote for the first team as well. And I'm not trying to say that they're in the top 5 or top 10 defenders in the league. I disagree with whoever voted for them to actually get on the team, but they definitely are in that top, I would say probably top 20 defenders in the NBA right now, and 20 to 25 doesn't really matter. The Celtics have 6 guys that are in that range in the top defenders in the league, and everyone just buying into their role and knowing what they're good at defensively and providing that for the team was so essential for them. Their individual defenders put into one team, and the chemistry that they had on the defensive end of the floor, their switch ability, their great overall rim protection, their ability to contest shots very effectively, and allow this defense to also lead to offense out in transition. This is the number 1 key for the Boston Celtics this year. Their defense is what got them to the NBA Finals, and hopefully what can win them a championship. Something else that I think was really key for the Celtics, especially in the playoffs, is how their role players were able to step up. Like I said, I think the star player in Jason Tatum was the key for them this year. Same thing with their overall defense and their coaching, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later as well. But a lot of the time in the playoffs, what is going to make the difference when you look at how close scores are is which team's role players played better. And going into this season, I thought the Celtics were going to severely underperform. And the reason I thought this is because, especially in the regular season, when you can't have your star players playing 40 minutes every game, I didn't think they had the depth. I didn't think they had the role players to step up and provide that sort of energy for them off the bench. But at the trade deadline this year, they went out and got Derek White, who's provided a lot for them. He's really been their 6th man of the year, their 6th man of the playoffs. His great perimeter defense, switchability on defense, and his ability to be an efficient scorer, a decent shooter, and a very good playmaker off of the bench for this team has provided a lot for them. And also a role player like Peyton Pritchard, who has been inconsistent throughout the playoffs, but at times has been able to come in and provide some good playmaking, some good shooting, some great overall just energy and swag off of the bench. He's been key for them. And then my favorite, Grant Williams. If he does not drop 30 points in Game 7, the Celtics are not here. This dude literally dropped 30 points in Game 7, and I mean, that was really his biggest game, and other than that, he hasn't been a huge force, but he still played his role, been a versatile defender as well, great on that end of the floor, a pretty good shooter throughout the vast majority of the playoffs, and really those 3 guys off of the bench, and Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Grant Williams have provided some great role playing off of the bench and come in and just provided exactly what they need. And for a championship team, you need your role players to come in and do what they're asked, and that's what these 3 guys off of the benches have done. The Celtics still don't have great depth, but you don't really need a 10-man deep rotation in the playoffs. You just need those kind of 3 to 4 main role players to step up, and that's what happened, along with their amazing core, their defense I talked about, and their superstar player. Last thing I want to talk about is the coaching on the Celtics team, and how really ever since the 2022 calendar year hit, Ime Udoka's done an incredible job with this group. A new head coach coming in is definitely tough, and that's why I think the Celtics were really struggling at the start of the year, is he hadn't really integrated himself into their systems yet, and the players and coaches weren't really responding that well. But as the season went on, he really allowed his team to develop into the best defensive team in the league. Their offense became a lot better flowing, a lot better working together, and a lot of the credit is due to the individual players, and definitely the players for executing it, but none of this run from the Boston Celtics is possible without the great coaching of Ime Udoka. I talked about this in my other Celtics video about 2 months ago as well, how Brad Stevens had coached his team for a long time, an amazing coach, and Ime Udoka stepping in and filling those shoes is not easy, but in the second half of the season, he was definitely the coach of the year in my opinion, and probably the best coach in the NBA playoffs as well. So what he's done, without what he's done for this team, it's impossible. Everything I talked about today, about maybe not Jason Tatum, because that was kind of like his own personal thing, but about their defense, about their offense stepping up, and their role players stepping stepping up in their offense, being a lot better flowing as an overall team, what they've done, getting out in transition at times. None of this is possible without the great coaching of Ime Udoka, and he deserves a lot of credit for what the Celtics have done this year as well, flipping their season completely upside down. So that's what I think. I think the Celtics were able to go from the 10 seed to a championship team, making the NBA Finals because of Jason Tatum becoming an absolute god, their defense becoming the best in the NBA, their role players stepping up a lot more, and the great coaching of Ime Udoka. I'm actually kind of glad to see the Celtics in the finals. Their kind of revenge story this season, going from an 18-21 team to making the NBA Finals, has been pretty fun to watch. They definitely proved me wrong, and I'm really interested to see this NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Celtics that'll be starting later this week. So thank you guys for watching today's video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment down below your thoughts on the Celtics and why you think they were able to turn it around from a 10 seed to making the finals this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next video.